CEO abandons his pregnant wife. A decade later, she buys his company. Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. Emily's hands trembled as she held the eviction notice, her mind struggling to process the words. It had been weeks since she'd last seen Nathan, her husband, but she never imagined he would take things this far. They had been married for 4 years, and when she discovered she was pregnant, she believed it was the start of a new chapter in their lives. Nathan, however, saw it differently. He had always been ambitious, running a small tech startup with dreams of scaling it to unimaginable heights. When he secured a significant round of investment, his confidence turned to arrogance. He became colder, less interested in their life together, and more obsessed with the company's growth. Emily thought it was the stress of work, but she had no idea how deeply his attitude had changed. The day he left, it wasn't just Nathan walking out of the door. He took everything with him: her trust, their savings, and any hope she had for a stable future. He emptied their joint bank accounts, leaving her without access to a single dollar. Nathan even canceled the lease on their apartment without her knowledge, ensuring she would be evicted without warning. It was a calculated move, cold and unfeeling, meant to sever all ties. When Emily confronted him, tears streaming down her face, he brushed her off with a dismissive smirk. "I've moved on, Emily," he said, the words slicing through the air like knives. "I can't be held back by a child I never wanted and a life I never chose. You'll figure it out. You always do." He made it clear he had no intention of being a father, no desire to be tied down by the responsibilities of family. He left her standing in the empty apartment, surrounded by boxes of memories that suddenly felt like nothing more than weights dragging her down. Desperate, she reached out to friends and family, but Nathan had painted her in a terrible light, accusing her of being unstable and a hindrance to his success. Most people believed his version of events. After all, he was the charming, successful entrepreneur, while she was the pregnant woman left behind. She quickly realized she couldn't rely on anyone but herself. With no income and a baby on the way, she took a job as a waitress in a local diner, working long shifts to scrape together enough for a small studio apartment. She kept a photo of Nathan tucked away in a drawer, a reminder of the man he used to be, or perhaps the man she once thought he was. But each time she looked at it, the bitterness swelled inside her. It wasn't just about the money he stole or the lies he told. It was the way he discarded her and their unborn child as if they were nothing more than a burden he had shed. That memory became the fuel for her determination, a burning drive to prove that she was not as disposable as he believed. Emily spent sleepless nights reading business books, poring over articles about startups and market trends between shifts at the diner and doctor's appointments. She studied the world Nathan had once thrived in, learning its language and its secrets. She promised herself that she would find a way out of this mess, for her sake and for the child who deserved better than the legacy Nathan had left them. Emily's determination became her guiding light as she navigated the difficult months ahead. With a newborn son cradled in her arms, she moved into a tiny, run-down apartment on the edge of town. The leaky pipes and stained walls were a far cry from the life she had imagined when she first married Nathan. Yet, in those moments of solitude, she found a renewed sense of purpose. Each coo and smile from her son, Daniel, was a reminder that she had someone who depended on her, someone who gave her strength even when she felt like crumbling. Her evenings were spent in the back corner of the diner, a warm laptop balanced on her knee as she served customers. By day, she continued to immerse herself in the world of startups and tech. She read about emerging industries and shifting markets, slowly piecing together a vision of the future she wanted to build. With every article, every case study, a plan took shape in her mind, a way to rise from the ashes that Nathan had left her in. Emily took a bold step when she enrolled in online business courses, using what little money she had saved. She studied during Daniel's naps and late at night, mastering the skills Nathan had once dismissed as beyond her grasp. Those months of struggle turned into years, but each small victory became a stepping stone. She learned how to code, design websites, and eventually manage small investments. Her first major break came when she pitched an idea for a productivity app to a local entrepreneur she had met through the diner. He took a chance on her, offering her a modest investment to develop a prototype. With the funds, Emily rented a small office space, a dingy room above a laundromat, but it felt like a palace compared to the diner. She hired 2 developers, and together they launched the app. It wasn't a runaway success, but it brought in enough revenue to keep them afloat and gain a small foothold in the tech community. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of stability. Meanwhile, Nathan's company began to falter. His investors grew impatient as profits dwindled, and whispers about his questionable decisions started to spread through the industry. He had expanded too quickly, overestimated demand, and neglected to adapt to new market trends. The very traits that had made him ruthless, his impatience and disdain for caution, became his undoing. Yet in his arrogance he refused to believe that he could fail. He continued to live lavishly, dipping into company funds to maintain the facade of success. Emily watched from a distance, keeping track of his company's performance through the very business news websites she had once studied. She couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction when she saw articles questioning the stability of his leadership, but she knew better than to gloat. Instead, she focused on building her own brand, reinvesting every dollar she earned into expanding her small venture. She networked relentlessly, attending startup meetups and pitching her ideas at any opportunity. It was during one of these networking events that she met Alexander Hart, a seasoned venture capitalist known for his ability to spot potential in underdog companies. Emily's passion and drive caught his attention, and after several meetings, he offered to become her mentor. Alexander helped her secure larger rounds of funding, guiding her through the complexities of scaling a business. With his support, Emily expanded her product line, launching a suite of tools that quickly gained traction in the tech world. Within 5 years, Emily's company, Phoenix Rise Technologies, became known for its innovative solutions and strong leadership. She built a loyal team, one that respected her vision and the transparency with which she ran the business. As her reputation grew, so did the whispers about the mysterious investor acquiring shares in Nathan's company. Little did Nathan know that the woman behind the anonymous buyer was the same one he had left behind with nothing. Emily operated through a shell corporation, slowly acquiring shares of Nathan's struggling company at bargain prices. She kept her identity hidden, using intermediaries to make the purchases and remaining just below the radar of major shareholders. She knew the day would come when she would have enough control to make her move, but she remained patient, biding her time until the moment was right. Then, one rainy afternoon, Emily received a call from Alexander. Nathan's company, once a dominant player in the tech market, had reached its breaking point. The board was considering selling off the remaining assets, and rumors of bankruptcy were circulating. Alexander knew that this was the opportunity Emily had been waiting for. She met with the board members who were desperate to salvage whatever value they could. They welcomed her proposal for a takeover, seeing her company as a lifeline to save their jobs and protect the company's remaining value. The deal was finalized within weeks, and Emily stepped into Nathan's office, the same one she had helped decorate when they were first married. The desk, the leather chair, even the framed certificates on the wall all looked exactly as she remembered. She took a deep breath, savoring the moment she had worked for nearly a decade to reach. She had come full circle from the day he left her standing alone, but she wasn't here to dwell on the past. She was here to reshape the future. The next time Nathan saw her, she would be the one holding all the cards. The day Emily took control of Nathan's company dawned cold and gray, with a biting wind that swept through the city streets. The board members had arranged a meeting to formally announce the acquisition, and the entire staff buzzed with curiosity about the mysterious new owner. Nathan, who had been clinging to his CEO title despite the company's freefall, strutted into the boardroom, unaware that today would bring the shock of his life. Emily arrived early, her presence unnoticed as she observed the reactions of the employees, who had once followed Nathan's every word. She saw fear in their eyes, uncertainty about what the future would hold under new leadership. It was a feeling she knew well, a reflection of the same uncertainty she had faced all those years ago when Nathan left her. But now she had the power to change their fate, to show them that a better way was possible. As she stepped into the boardroom, the murmur ceased. She held her head high, her expression unreadable, as she took a seat at the head of the table. Nathan's seat. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Nathan's voice broke through, sharp and incredulous. "What is she doing here?" he demanded, glancing between the board members and Emily with a look of disbelief. The chairman, an older man with thinning hair, cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Mr. Carter, meet Emily Collins, the new majority shareholder and acting CEO of Phoenix Rise Technologies, which has officially taken ownership of Carter Innovations." Nathan's face blanched. He blinked, trying to process the words, then turned his glare back to Emily. "You did this." His voice was a low growl, barely containing his fury. "You think you can just walk in here and take everything I built?" Emily met his gaze, her expression calm. "I don't think, Nathan. No, you made it easy, really, ignoring your employees, pushing away your investors, and refusing to adapt. You left the door wide open, and I walked through it." Her tone remained steady, but there was a sharpness to her words, the edge of years of pain that she had turned into strength. Nathan's fists clenched, his bravado crumbling as he realized the depth of her plan. "This is revenge, isn't it?" He spat, his voice trembling with barely concealed rage. "You've been waiting for this moment just so you could humiliate me." Emily shook her head slowly. "No, Nathan, this isn't about revenge. It's about survival. You left me with nothing, not even a way to provide for our child. You made sure I had no resources, no support, and you never looked back. I did what I had to do to survive, and I built something that you could never take away from me. But now I have the chance to fix what you broke." She paused, letting her words hang in the air. Nathan's face twisted with confusion, then a flash of desperation. "I was under pressure. I had to focus on the company, the investors. I couldn't let anything hold me back." He stammered, his excuses sounding hollow even to his own ears. "But you took my company." Emily leaned forward, her expression softening as she studied the man she had once loved. "No, Nathan, you lost your company. You let your ambition consume you until there was nothing left to save. And when you had the chance to build a life with me and our son, you walked away without a second thought." A tense silence filled the room. The board members, who had initially felt pity for Nathan, now shifted uncomfortably in their seats, realizing the full weight of his actions. But Nathan wasn't ready to accept defeat. He straightened his shoulders, forcing a smirk onto his face. "You may have my company, but you'll never know what it takes to lead it. You'll fail just like you always did." Emily's lips curved into a faint smile. "Maybe, but I won't fail alone. You see, I had help, someone who believed in me when no one else did." She glanced toward the doorway where Alexander Hart stepped into the room. The seasoned venture capitalist gave Nathan a polite but distant nod before standing beside Emily, a silent show of support. Nathan's smirk faltered as the realization hit him. You were behind this too?" he asked, his voice cracking. Alexander's expression was one of cold detachment. "I saw potential in Emily when you couldn't, Nathan. I saw the resilience you overlooked and the strength you tried to break while you spent years chasing quick wins." She built something real, something lasting, and now she's in charge. Nathan's bravado finally crumbled. He took a step back, his face pale as he grasped the full scope of his downfall. But Emily wasn't finished. She reached into her bag and pulled out a thin envelope, sliding it across the table. "This is your severance package," she said calmly. "It's more generous than the one you left me with." Nathan's hand shook as he picked up the envelope, his eyes scanning the terms inside. It offered him a modest payout, enough to cover his immediate debts, but nothing more. And there, buried in the fine print, was the condition. He could continue working for the company, but only as a low-level consultant with no decision-making power. His gaze shot back to Emily, filled with a mixture of disbelief and anger. "You're serious," he muttered, as if trying to convince himself that this wasn't some twisted joke. Emily met his gaze steadily. "I'm offering you the chance to rebuild, Nathan, the same chance you never gave me. But this time, you're not the one in control." Nathan's shoulders sagged, the fight finally leaving his body. He nodded, a hollow look in his eyes as he realized he had no choice but to accept. Emily watched as he signed the papers with trembling hands, the same hands that had once held their future in them. She felt no triumph in that moment, only a sense of closure. When the meeting ended, Nathan shuffled out of the boardroom, his figure small and hunched. Emily remained behind, gazing out at the city skyline. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, that running a company, especially one in as much turmoil as this, would demand every ounce of her strength. But she also knew she had already survived the worst. Alexander placed a hand on her shoulder, offering a quiet smile. "You did well, Emily. He underestimated you, but you've shown everyone what true resilience looks like." She nodded, a small smile touching her lips. "This isn't the end, Alexander. It's just the beginning. For me, for Daniel, and for everyone who ever felt like they were left behind." As she walked out of the boardroom, Emily glanced back at the empty chair where Nathan once sat, feeling the weight of the past finally lift from her shoulders. She knew that her journey wasn't over, but for the first time in years, she was no longer haunted by the shadows of what had been. She had taken control of her life, her future, and now she would make sure that she and her son never had to depend on anyone else again. Somewhere deep inside, she hoped that Nathan would learn the same lesson she had, that true strength comes not from power or wealth, but from facing the consequences of your choices and finding a way to rise above them. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story.